Well, they say that a broke clock is right twice a day, and that line came to my mind when I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene on CNN being civil and making sense. I did not have that on my bingo card for 2025. Anytime I catch myself agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I say to myself, this whole MAGA bit has gotten way out of hand. If all of a sudden I'm agreeing with her. Now, I'm not giving her a pass. I want to say that right up front. I am not giving her a pass. I still think she's a terrible person. I think she's done terrible things. I wouldn't vote for her. I wouldn't encourage anyone out there to vote for her. But folks, when she can see through this and she's calling it out, number one, she's looking ahead to realize there's going to be life after Trump. And there's a lot of people out there that are very delusional and they think Trump's just going to be around forever and they're never going to have to worry about anything again. At least she's looking ahead to what's going on. She realizes that that ship is sinking and she doesn't want to be on it. So she's trying to save her career when it all comes crashing down. And the sad part is she probably will. She'll probably keep right on going because at least she was smart enough to see that the ship was about to sink. Here she is, though, when she's asked about the polls that are blaming Republicans for this, she doesn't say what the rest of the Republicans do, which is, well, I don't believe those polls. You got the worst polls ever. No, she just admits, yeah, Republicans are to blame for this. Take a look.
Poll. It shows that 47% of Americans believe that President Trump and the Republicans are mainly responsible for the shutdown. You see it here on the screen, compared to just 30% of Americans who blame Democrats. Of course, Republicans are the ones with the power. Do you agree with Americans in that poll that see the shutdown as your party's fault?
You know what? I don't think the shutdown is popular for either side. And so I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. This should not be happening. And I don't think, look, as a member of Congress, we already have a low enough job approval rating. This shutdown is just going to drive everybody's approval rating that much lower.
But so you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party?
Absolutely. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. But what we have to do is we have to work for the American people. And our country is so divided right now. We see it all the time in every single way. It's divided in what I would say very dangerous ways. And we saw that with the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, which has upset so many people across the board. And look, when it comes to hearing from senior citizens or my own friends and neighbors and my own family members and people that voted for me, and they're just saying, Marjorie, we just really want somebody to do something about health insurance premiums. We really want our government and our leaders to actually focus on our country for a change and fix our problems. That is the message I constantly hear from my district, and I'm a representative. I don't have to be a cheerleader for my party. I have to represent my district because those are the people that hired me and sent me here. And I myself, I agree with them, and I'm pretty much over it's just drama constantly on TV. No offense, because you guys are on television, but that's all that we see in American politics now.
The scary part is that if I had never seen her and that was my introduction to her, I would look at that and say, well, that's a reasonable person. And folks, that's the scary part here. She understands there's going to be life after Trump, and there's going to be people that are going to be tuning in and starting to pay attention for the first time. And when they do, they're going to see someone like Marge. Now, we have a mountain load of videos we could go back and re-examine, and there's so much that we could talk about that Marjorie Taylor Greene has gotten wrong over the years, but she would end up duping people in the end. Because they would tune in now and see her. And now in that particular clip, she looks like a voice of reason. But the one thing that she's figured out is how to play to that base. And the one thing that will always resonate is when you talk about the problems that they're facing. And she understands that. So she's now just turning on her own party because they're really indefensible. There's no way at this point in the game that anyone could honestly defend Republicans. So while I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene at all and wouldn't vote for her, wouldn't encourage anyone to vote for her, and I'm not giving her a pass for all the things she did in the past, I will say at least she will sit there and say, yes, it's our fault, instead of just sitting there saying it's a Democratic scam, it's a Democratic hoax. At least she said things like this we've got to come together and work together.
I'm one of those that gets real tired of political drama when it's not actually solving a problem. And this is such a crisis that I'm willing to say, okay, everyone, we have to do something about this. It shouldn't be something that we dangle the American people or military pay or all of these things. We shouldn't be dangling them back and forth. We have to fix it.
What are you hearing from your constituents right now? And do you have any regrets about voting for that short-term continuing resolution, that spending bill?
Thank you for that question. Number one, I am a Republican, and I support the president. I was very vocal about I didn't want to vote for a CR. I want to pass our appropriations. That's our constitutional duty, and I want to bring that taxpayer dollars back to my district. I work hard on that, so that was important to me. But I support the president, and I voted for the CR. Number two, what am I hearing from my constituents? It's great. We track all the calls that come into my office. About 60% of the calls coming in right now are calls of support and saying, yes, health insurance is a crisis. They're telling us stories about how they're already paying $2,000 a month with $10,000 deductibles. I'm getting phone calls from people that are saying if the ACA tax credits expire, they aren't going to be able to have health insurance. They're going to have to drop it. But I'm hearing from people on both sides, people already on the ACA and people that are already getting crushed by high health insurance premiums.
I want to ask.
So I'm Brando, and I'm here to talk to you about Mando deodorant. And I've had so many people reach out to me and say, Brando, is this real? Or is this just some sort of skit you wrote for the channel? No, folks, this is real life. And back earlier this year, I switched to Mando deodorant, and I haven't looked back. I now refuse to use anything else. And fall of the year is coming upon us, which means I'm going to be busting out my trusty flannel shirts here in East Tennessee. May even light up a bonfire too. But if you're like most guys, you're still putting in a hard day's work, and yeah, that means sweat. Don't let body odor sideline you. Mando deodorant plus sweat control is for real hardworking guys. Formulated to stop odor before it starts and doesn't mask odor with an overwhelming fragrance. So you can tackle anything from the job site to tailgating with confidence. Don't mask it, Mando it. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use Brando at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. Shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them Brando sent you. Mando's got you covered. With deodorant plus sweat control, say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. You know, folks, I really hate to say this, but I do believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene understands MAGA and understands Donald Trump probably better than anybody, because what she's doing, if you'll notice, she's playing it smart on her part, because she's not criticizing Trump. She doesn't lay into him. She doesn't put the blame on him. I predict one day you'll see her do it. Once he's gone, she'll probably step back and act like she never had nothing to do with it, and we'll be holding her to account. But she sits there and she says, I can't criticize the president, but she lays into Republicans, because in MAGA's world, you can criticize each other and you can rip each other to shreds. You just can't tear apart the dear leader. That is a vintage cult right there. But here she is being asked about the Epstein files, and does she think that the reason why the government is staying closed is because they don't want to release the files? Again, it's just really weird seeing Marjorie shift gears and now try to pass herself off as reasonable. We're not going to fall for it, but I have to say she's doing a pretty good act here anyway.
Epstein files, wanting to release those. I know Democrats have also been calling for that, a few other Republicans as well. The Democrats are accusing Speaker Johnson of delaying the swearing in of Arizona's Democratic Congresswoman-elect because she would give the last vote needed to release those Epstein files. I'm wondering, the Speaker, for his part, he has denied that. He said it's because of the shutdown. Have you spoken to him? Do you think she should be sworn in right away?
Well, I'll say it like this. I can't conclusively say if that's why the House is not in session, but the House should be in session. And the House should be in session for many reasons. We have appropriation bills that need to get passed. There is a new Democrat that's been elected that does deserve to be sworn in. Her district elected her. We have other bills that we need to be passing. And if it's to avoid the discharge petition, why drag this out? That is going to have 218 signatures. And so I say go ahead and do it and get it over with.
Yeah, and she also put out a post saying, I'm not suicidal. I'm one of the happiest people on earth, so if something happens to me, you better start asking questions. That's where Marjorie's at today. And I know that she has been one of the biggest villains, and I know that we all have our feelings about her. But when a congresswoman is putting out online that she's not suicidal, and if something happens to her, you better take note and you better ask questions, that's not a world I want to live in. I can disagree with her strongly all day long and always will, but I don't think we should live in a world where that a congresswoman says that out loud and it's just sort of like glossed over. You know, it's like it's glossed over. But I do believe, love her or hate her, Marjorie Taylor Greene sees the writing on the wall. She realizes the reason I'm showing you those clips and where I'm coming from with my angle of thought on this one is I believe that MAGA is in the final stages. I believe it's about to come to a crashing halt, and I believe people like Marjorie Taylor Greene can see it coming, and she's just trying to get out of the way and try to save her ass. Now, what's going to be hard is when you have the people tune in for the first time that's never been at this party, and that's something Donald Trump taught us. He brought people into the conversation that should have never been here, that had never been here, that didn't have a clue what they were talking about, but he brought them in and made them experts. That's going to continue to happen as time goes on. People are going to show up to the conversation for the first time. So there's going to be people show up and they're going to say, hey, why was Tennessee Brando calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a dumbass when I heard her say this and it made sense? And that's where we have to go back and show them who these people always were. Marjorie Taylor Greene's not fooling us, but she's definitely going to bat to save her own ass. When she's sitting there being reasonable, and when she's saying that, well, you know, this Democratic congresswoman was elected fairly and she deserves to be sworn in. Really? I mean, she's accepting those election results? That's not like Marge at all. That kind of almost makes me think that maybe she realizes the end is closer than we do. And maybe she understands, you know what, I got to go ahead and jump off this ship and let it sink. I can't wait for the day that the Donald Trump ship is officially sank and MAGA is just something that we're trying to examine and talk about and hope never happens again. That's my hope. You know, I don't want to see political violence. I don't want to see people try to be violent. I don't want to see any of those things. I want to see those ideas defeated because we come together as a country and we stand up against them and we say, hell no, we're never going to let this happen in our country. I want to see people stand for the Constitution. I want to see people stand for the rule of law. I want to see people stand for true freedom and democracy for all. And I want to see those ideas squashed that way. And so we will continue to put in the work to squash those ideas and to make them irrelevant. But we also won't let Marjorie Taylor Greene off the hook later when she's up there trying to be the front runner. We're going to go back and we're going to bring back the receipts and say, no, Marge, you remember when you chased the students down the hall that had been, you know, survivors of school shootings? Remember when you taunted them? Do you remember all the hateful rhetoric you pushed for years? Do you remember all the horrible stances that you had for years? We're not going to forget those. But I think her saving her career is kind of a window as to what's coming. MAGA's about to fall apart at the seams. They are. And if you sit back and watch them, the way they're talking about Charlie Kirk now, they're conspiracy theorying themselves right out of it. They're going to end up, what's going to happen, I do believe, we're just going to sit back and watch them slowly destroy each other, and then we're going to have to step in, pick up the pieces from this giant mess that they made. And yeah, I will always put it back on them. The people that voted for Donald Trump is who got us in this mess. We can blame it on Trump all day, but people voted for this, and they have to be held to account, even Marjorie Taylor Greene.